Have you ever been in a situation where you were forced to do something that made you question everything you thought you knew about your family? Something that felt wrong, but you couldn't bring yourself to stop it. That's exactly what happened to me, and trust me, I wish it hadn't. My mom Karen asked me to do something with our dog, Buster, and I didn't just do it. I was caught on camera doing the unthinkable, and let me tell you, it's something I can't erase from my mind. No matter how hard I try now. I know you might be thinking, what could be so bad? But stay with me, because by the end of this story you'll understand exactly why I had to share this with you. It's something you won't believe. I'm Alex, and I grew up in a pretty normal family, or at least that's what I thought. My mom, Karen, always had this way of getting things done, getting people to follow her lead without question. She was the kind of person who didn't take no for an answer, and everyone around her just went along with whatever she said. At least that's how it always seemed to me. But then things started to get strange. We had a family dog, Buster, who was like a brother to me. He was a loyal, goofy golden retriever who always stuck by my side, the kind of dog who was there when I needed someone to talk to, and he never judged. But one evening something happened that changed everything. My mom asked me to do something with Buster, something I thought would be just a harmless task. At first it didn't seem like a big deal, but as I stood there looking at Buster and then back at my mom, a sinking feeling started to grow in my stomach. Something about the way she asked didn't sit right with me at first. It seemed innocent enough. She asked me to help with Buster, but the way she said it's something about her tone fell off. It wasn't the usual calm, reassuring voice I'd grown up hearing. There was a slight edge to it, almost like she was pushing me into something, but I couldn't figure out what. I remember feeling this strange unease crawling up my spine, but I couldn't bring myself to question her. After all, she was my mom, and when your mom asked you for help, you do it. So, despite the knot tightening in my stomach, I agreed. I walked over to Buster, who wagged his tail in that playful, innocent way he always did, completely unaware that everything was about to change. But then everything shifted. Karen, my mom, looked at me, a strange coldness in her eyes. I never had seen that look before. She stepped closer, and I could feel the weight of her gaze. There was a moment of silence, and then she said it. This is the only way, Alex. She told me. The words hit me like a cold slap. There was something final about them, like she wasn't asking, but telling me. I froze. My heart started to race, my palms sweaty, as I stood there caught between my confusion and my growing sense of dread. What did she mean by that? The question buzzed in my mind as I tried to make sense of it, but before I could even ask, she motioned toward the camera, and just like that I was standing in front of it with Buster by my side, doing something I never imagined I would ever do, let alone with my family involved. The camera was already rolling, capturing everything. I couldn't even process what was happening in real time. I felt my chest tighten. I knew deep down this wasn't right. Every fiber of my being screamed at me to stop, to get away from that camera, to pull Buster away and walk out of the room. But instead I felt frozen, paralyzed. My mind told me to run, but my feet were stuck in place. I didn't feel like I had a choice anymore. I was caught in a moment I couldn't control, a situation spiraling out of control. The weight of it settled around me like a suffocating cloud, and all I could do was stand there, trapped, as the camera kept rolling, capturing every second. So what did my mom ask me to do? It's something I never thought I'd be caught doing. She told me to become intimate with our dog, Buster, and that she would watch. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I could barely comprehend what she was asking. I must have heard wrong. This couldn't be happening. But as I stood there, her eyes fixed on mine, I knew I hadn't. The reality of the situation was dawning on me, and it was something I couldn't escape. I felt my breath catch in my chest as my heart pounded, the blood draining from my face. The worst part, the camera was rolling the entire time. I could feel it staring, recording, capturing every second of my horror. There was no getting away from it. At first I thought it was a joke, some twisted idea she'd come up with, but the more I stood there, the more I realized this wasn't a joke at all. Her expression was cold, unfeeling, almost calculating. Do it, Alex, she said in a low voice that made my skin crawl. The command was clear, unquestionable. She wasn't asking, she wasn't requesting, she was ordering me, and all I could do was stand there, unable to move, unable to speak. My thoughts were racing 1,000 miles an hour. I tried to make sense of it, tried to reason with myself that this couldn't be happening, but nothing made sense. Buster, our family dog, the one who had been there for me through everything, was standing there, confused, not understanding why everything was so different. His tail was wagging nervously, as if trying to comfort me unaware that I was on the verge of losing everything the trust one had in my family, my sense of right and wrong, my own sense of self. As I looked at him, I felt the weight of what was being asked of me sink in his eyes. Those innocent eyes were filled with confusion, but to me they seemed almost to reflect the disgust and betrayal I was feeling. The love I had for him felt like a distant memory, replaced by an overwhelming sense of guilt. I wasn't just letting myself down, I was betraying him. I was trapped in a nightmare and there was no way out. I was being forced into a situation I could never erase from my mind. My body felt like it was made of stone. Every part of me wanted to run, to scream, to somehow make this stop, but I was paralyzed, frozen in place. My mother was standing there staring at me with a strange calmness, almost as though she was watching me, waiting to see if I would comply. Her eyes were cold and calculating, and the relentless